I had to come to the realization of why I'm where I am today. I had to understand my alchemy because I knew that every step that I've taken has been strategic. And I bring this out in my book. I knew that every single position that I held, every single belief system that I lived under, I lived there for a reason. I was supposed to be there. And the reason that I was supposed to be there was so that I could live it, I could breathe it, I could eat it, I could digest it, and I could fully be in the presence of it. Every single journey that I have taken, every single video I have made on YouTube has been me. That is me. The truth of me in every single circumstance. And so I look back on those videos and I realize that there is no way I could take any one of those down because that was living in my truth at the moment. That was the fullness of the expression of the Spirit at that moment. And you see, I asked the Creator, once I realized that what it is I believed, each one of them that I believed, why it is that the Creator showed me what the Creator showed me. Because after I looked at everything that was shown to me through my alchemy, through the years and through each journey that I accepted and rejected, I looked and I asked the Creator, I said, what have you left me with? What am I now that I have nothing of what I had before? What have you left me with? And I cry within my spirit every single day because in my mind, thinking on the physical, I had nothing left of Vera, what defined me as a person. You see, I believed that everything that was my belief system was my definition of self. That is how I defined myself. If someone said in my introduction to them, who are you? I would have said, my name is Vera. I am a Jehovah's Witness. I am a mother. I am a wife. I'm a friend. I'm a homemaker. I'm all those things. Later on in my journey, if someone said, who is Vera? I would have named everything that I do, in addition to me being a Hebrew Israelite. And later on, and even in between that, I would have introduced myself as a Christian, as a Bible believer. And thus, that was the definition of me. That was who I was, and internally who I was, or who I believed and perceived myself to be. And so when the Creator began to take away my structure, take away what defined me, I was left naked and abandoned and afraid because I did not get the lesson. And it was only when I was left with nothing that I was forced to sit in my chamber, my room, in which no one else could see, and go inside and go within. And I began to ask the questions within the within of what was the next step. Where do I go from here? How do I again bring stability within my life, within my spirit? How do I define what I feel anymore? And so little by little, the Creator started replacing what had been shown to me as a child, and as I've gone through my alchemy, and showed me the greater picture, the canvas, the entire canvas of what it all meant. And why is it that I needed the pieces in order to get the whole? And how it is to put Vera back together again. And so I realized that I needed strength and I needed courage to triumph over this painful feeling of feeling insecure. And I needed to find another route. I needed to find another stable ground in which I could now stand my cross and my tree upon that would hold me up. And so what I had to do was take every single step of my alchemy and transmute it, transform it into what it is that I was birthed to be in the future. So I started going in the book more. I started underlining more. I started delving in deep within these words. You see, what I realized was like my former face of Jehovah's Witnesses, Christianity, and Hebrew Israelites. I had to be in those things in order for me to be where I am today. And thus I had to go into the Bible. I had to go into the lie to come out of the lie. You see, in order for us to have a full understanding of a situation, we must be able to stand above it in order to see into the complexities of it all. And so when the mind and the wisdom of the Creator, I was able to live every single road that I took with authenticity, with truth, with passion and no lies. I believed it, I preached it, I taught it, and you all were witness to it. I needed to be intrinsically involved in the lie in order for me to come out with a fuller picture of my canvas. And so as I did that and I asked the Creator, what have you left me with? I realized in the end I had been left with brilliance. You see, it is in our nakedness, in our being forced to be unclothed, that we now bear our cross. And the cross that I had to bear was finding truth. And so the other day, a few weeks ago, I shared in a video with you the God of war, the God of rape, and the God of confusion. For in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33, he tells us that he is not the author of confusion. But yet in his very book, he indicts himself. Because when we go to Genesis 11, he gives himself away. And he says that it is he that went down and confused the languages of the people that were working together in unity. He took away their knowledge. You see, that tower was not a building. That tower was knowledge. And they said, let us go down and confuse their language, or else they will know what we know. And thus, the beginning, the root of confusion. You see, when anyone attempted to speak to the other and given direction and working together in unity, they could no longer understand the language, for the language of the other had changed. And thus, as they began to speak to one another or attempt to speak to one another, it was not productive, and the work had to end. And instead of their work being built in wisdom, it crumbled. Because like Hosea 6:4, the knowledge had been taken away. And so I look at this book, and I am amazed at how a book can go across the world and be converted into multiple religions. I'm amazed at the possibility that two contradictory thoughts can exist within a book, and we all accept it. That I accepted it. I accepted the good with the evil. The God in the Bible that says he is good and he is evil. I accepted those two opposing thoughts. The dichotomy of this book. I would not impress upon anyone evil, ever. But yet in this book, I said it was okay. I justified it. Because it was the Creator. Confusion, I justified because it was the Creator. And so I ask you, based on the video I did, what language do you speak? What language can we communicate to one another in which we can understand one another? You see, there's no commonality in language anymore because there are multiple languages. But I speak to you today in English. That is the language that I speak to you in which you understand. And that is the language that this book of confusion that has brought multiple religions, in which each religion, whether you're Christian, whether you're Hebrew Israelite, all of you disagree. Because you speak the language of Babel, confusion that was integrated by your Creator in Genesis 11. And so we all attempt to understand one another, but it is impossible if we do not speak the same language. And so I ask you, which of these books speak your language? Is it this one? 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 Is it this version of the Bible that speaks your language? How about this one, the New Oxford Annotated Version of the Bible? Or how about this one, the King James Version? How about the Strong Concordance? How about that? Does that speak your language? How many books do you have to get in which you understand the language that is being communicated to you? You see, I have read all of these books. In fact, I have read every single pseudeprocrypha book that is out there. I've read every single book that was denied you in your 66 that you idolize. I've read every single one of them. I have underlined, I have dissected, I have analyzed, and I have put under a microscope all of these books. There's no possibility of me ever selling any of my books, because every single one of them are underlined and highlighted and put on record for myself. You see, I have read all of these books. The Gospel of the Essenes, every single one of these books I have read over and over again, because it was my desire to understand the language of the God of the Bible, of which I believed in every single religion that I was in. I believed it with all my faith and all my core. And so I dissected and underlined and tried to ascertain, even in the Hebrew, what it is that my God of confusion, in retrospect, was telling me. And so I spent years, I spent hours, I spent days away from my children and my husband in an attempt to reach the truth. I spent all of my days believing what I believed, being confused of what I believed, having someone throw something at me that made me throw into question what it is I had all read and put together in a puzzle and believed that it was truth. I got it now. I got it. I got the truth. I figured it all out. Only later to have that diverted and realize that I didn't know anything and I had to start all over again because I thought I got the program. And so I had to learn the humility of becoming a student. And a student, when they have a question, they go in search of the answer. And so in my alchemy, the Creator had me question so that I could move on to my next journey. And thus in every single journey, I exhausted it. I exhausted the search. I have exhausted the search of these books. I have gone into every single idea and principle and law and Torah and scripture and verse and road that you could imagine. And then someone comes in and says, wait a minute, I got the Coptic for you. Wait a minute, I got the Yiddish for you. Wait a minute, Vera, I got the Hebrew for you. Wait a minute, Vera, I got the original Hebrew for you. Not just the original Hebrew, sister. I got the Phoenician Hebrew for you. And then someone comes along and says, I got the one from Akkad for you. And so I asked the Creator, with everything you took away, what language shall I speak to you? What language will I get from you in which I interpret the truth in its purity and in its absolute? What language shall I receive from you, Creator, in which I shall not be judged to condemnation and death and stoning, because I cannot with my intellect figure it all out? Creator, will I be judged because I do not speak a language that we do not even know today? What teacher shall we sit under in this Genesis 11 of confusion to learn the proper language of how it was properly written down, Creator? What language shall I speak? What language shall I speak to my children so that they have the salvation that your book promises? And what language shall I speak to my YouTube audience to save them from the fire and the brimstone? Shall I speak Christianity? Shall I speak Hebrewism? Shall I speak Islam? Which language? Which one? Which one? Which one of Genesis 11 is the one that I shall receive the messages from you? And so it came to my realization that I must take the time and go within. You see, the Creator put in my spirit that it was time to put this down. I had learned what I could learn from it. I was schooled in every school. I knew verses back and forth and still do, like the back of my hand. The Creator showed me that I had done a thorough investigation and that I was worthy enough to realize that there was nothing more that I could do to learn, to understand the language, unless I lived in the Spirit. You see, the Spirit is a language of which I do not need the accreditation for to get. It is only the Spirit that I can only receive by going into my inner chamber, closing my door, and get the downloads from. You see, there is no language of the Spirit. It is only an energy from the Creator. And thus, this is the pure language that the Bible speaks of that will be in our day. You see, the Spirit is the purity of the language in which we can speak in different languages, but still understand each other. And until the fullness of that pure language comes in, then English is the one that I speak. And until that happens, when I read a book, if I choose to open this book, that is the language I will understand. And so every Strong's Concordance that I have, every Hebrew lexicon that I have, and everyone that comes to me, writing me about a language, this is the one that I speak. And when I reply back to you in your message, it will be in English, because you have exhausted the education of understanding English, and thus we understand each other. But if you choose not to go within, then we will never be speaking the same language ever. And so I ask, with all of these books that have been written, the Essene Gospel, every single one of these Bible books that were removed that contradict your 66, which one of them is right? When they all were found in the same cave, which one of these were right when they contradict each other? I ask you that. And so I'm going to tell you the one that I stick with, the one that sums it all up, where all of this confusion came. Your Genesis 11 that I made a video about. Where did all these books on my desk come from? And why were they even necessary, I ask you? In one book, I give you that information. The Age of I Know, Unmasking the Magicians, the Bible Exposed. I take you into the root of where it all comes from. Who masterminded this book so that you and I could sit here at war today? That I could say I love my brother and my sister, but if they are not in agreement with me, there is a divide. Why it is that even in Christianity, you say you're brothers and sisters, but that divide stops you from loving one another. So much that even Hebrew Israelites, you can throw stones of death upon the brothers and the sisters that you say you love. Your measuring line becomes the evil. So much. In one book, I give you the root. I give you who this God is that could have you believing in two conflicting thoughts of good and evil. Why is it that good is bad and bad is good? And your mentality as a religionist, how it is that you can condemn and write scriptures and verses to people and stone your own brother to death. You see, you are only acting in the very image of him who you call your God. And so in here, you will be shocked to understand why it is that that is okay with you. What was done to you that you would believe the evil that is in here, that you would even not do upon your worst enemy. In here, this book will unmask the magicians, their master plan and their strategy to destroy your psyche, to fragment it so much that you lose critical thinking skills and you think that evil is good and good is bad. This is the language that I now speak in. It is the language of the Spirit, of which when this is gone, what do you have left? That is the language I bring to you. And I'm speaking it in English, which is why you join my channel, because I speak the language that you understand. But it is only those who live and breathe and interpret through the Spirit that will fully get this message. Are you ready to challenge everything you have ever believed? Are you ready to be like me, in which every single structure I had, all my securities were taken down, and I was left naked with nothing but me and the Creator reshaping me, the potter, the true potter, not the one of this book? Are you ready? This is the book that's going to free you. And once you get past this book, you see, this book takes down the lies. It takes down all the lies in which you think you have to live by the letter. It takes all those down. And once that is done, then we can begin the restructuring. We can become productive and learn from there how to decode and unmask this matrix that we live in. Because there's more I want to show you past this book, but I can't even get there unless the lies you have been believed, you have been taught, and it's been inculcated into you to believe. You feed your children. The idolatry that you have in this book. Unless I get past this, I can't even show you the rest. I want to free you. It is love that makes me stand here, sit here, and come on and take away the time from my family. It is love. Because I know that the greatest lie ever told on this planet, the greatest mastermind, the best chess move ever done on this planet Earth was this. And so I ask you, are you ready for this? Thank you.